So, Shorupan, a lot of people have been asking, who is this guy? What's he about?
What is he about?
Yeah, what's going on with you that's taken you to this place where a lot of people are looking at you and saying, man, this kid's got something going on here.
Well, it's a really interesting question, Ian, and it's one that many people have speculated on. And I think it's fair to say that my story is slightly unorthodox, and the journey that has brought me here is even more unorthodox. I always like to start off new conversations with people, like new engagements when I talk to someone for the first time. I never tell them about myself or what I've done because they tend to get carried away. Either they think it's the greatest set of accomplishments that they've ever heard of in a short period of time, or they think it's, highly, like it's a fallacy, like it didn't happen. And I'm okay with either way of them perceiving it, but I think it's good to set the record straight as what I've been doing and what has led me here. So, very brief background on myself. I was born here in Toronto, Canada. We're sitting here in the heart of the financial district on King Street. And trust me, I wasn't raised here. I was raised in a little suburb of Toronto by two immigrant parents who migrated here from Sri Lanka to escape a civil war. And you couldn't have asked for a more benign upbringing. They are wonderful people, but nothing out of the ordinary. You could swap out my childhood for anyone's childhood and it would be relatively unnoticeable. I always knew I had a propensity for math. I loved the idea of quantitative analysis. Like I just like perceiving things as numbers. So that might have been some aptitude that I inherited, but also worked on. Long story short, when I was 17 years old, I came to the realization that I not only had some type of, intellectual capacity, but I definitely also had the ability to inspire people. And I had the ability to, in a very unsophisticated fashion back then, lead people. Now, I didn't know what that meant back then. I just thought I was gregarious. I had the ability to speak well. And what it turned out to be was that I was a polarizing figure, like even within like a small group of people, let's say. And people gravitate toward those polarizing figures. They tend to come across charismatic. And so I leveraged that skill, and I really hate this word, but it is functionally what happened. I became an entrepreneur. And from there, I started off in a health and wellness like distribution business when I was still in high school that kind of just gave me my first exposure at running my own business. And that was what was really a turning point in terms of orchestrating the trajectory of the remainder of my professional career. From there, I didn't do the typical university thing. I actually started to do two things concurrently. Number one, I started to get into the financial markets with my own money. And when I say my own money, I mean literally nothing, because there was no own Shorupan's money at 17. I just started learning particularly about micro-cap securities trading, small cap stocks here in Toronto by myself and learning about what that looked like. And then I really got interested in foreign exchange, and my interest propelled me to futures, particularly the S&P Mini. And so trading derivatives gave me somewhat of an advantage to how I can use my aptitude for mathematics, but then use it to make money. So I started trading for myself. I also at the time was went to work for a company in British Columbia. I'm originally from Toronto, so I went to work for a company in British Columbia that had me kind of travel around Western Canada a lot. That company gave me it's a really well-known company, gave me a lot of experience in how to deal with people, how to manage people, how to orchestrate sales operations, how to grow out sales operations and train people. And so a combination of what they gave me in terms of tangible experience in the field and what I was doing with myself in terms of trading, I got the idea and the opportunity to start working in financial services when I was about 19 years old. So I came back from Vancouver to Toronto. Me and a couple of colleagues of mine went to Dubai to set up our first private management fund. And this was actually facilitated through a partnership we had with a trading brokerage. And so they allowed us to set up this really unique trading arrangement where we would execute trades on our own accounts and it would be mirrored on several people's accounts. And so it intermediated as a fund without us having to really go through the onerous process of setting that up. So we launched that at the beginning of 2016. I opened my first office at McNichol and 401. For those of you, that's like a decent area in Toronto. It was a really cool office. Me and 4 other individuals, some of which I still talk to today, launched that, and it did really well. Surprisingly, it did really well. Our traders were on the ball, and we were very good at growing that business. Now, what was interesting about us is we got uninterested in that business as we were doing well. We really didn't want to just continue scaling out that fund management business. What we wanted to do was start investing into startups, which is really funny because we were just a startup. And so that was slightly a delusional idea, and still to this day a delusional idea. And at the time we were no older than 20. But we did it. We launched a couple entities out of that office, some of which, one we launched a personal development company, a sales and distribution company, both of which are operating today and have good, tremendous traction in Toronto, and has become one of a world's leading coaching brands. That company is still running and is run by a close associate of mine called Sales In. We then launched a software development company out of Waterloo that was really small, a couple developer shop, and that started developing mobile applications. We went to launch a marketing firm called Acid Marketing, which would essentially do social media management. This was pretty early, right? So this was like 2015 social media. It was before the immense adoption of SMEs using social media the way that they do now. That's still going. And so for some reason, I had this ability to orchestrate people, and I had the ability to convey complex messages, and I had the ability to understand how to build software, whether it was me programming it myself or whether it was me managing a software team. The systems architecture behind software applications became something that I was intoxicated with. And of course, my love for financial markets never faded. I kept doing that and scaling out those businesses with my partners in Toronto, in the United Kingdom, and various other parts of the world, mainly in Toronto and the United Kingdom. And that's when, at the beginning of 2017, I was pushed face first into crypto. I had already known about Bitcoin as a financial asset, but I had not explored it as a technology, or I had not explored it as a conceptual product. And when I got involved in Bitcoin due to one of my traders forcing me to learn about it, I make the joke that I have fallen in love with every aspect of it to the point where it's ruined everything about my life. It has consumed every second of my time since then. My intellectual capacity has been given to nothing but understanding this incredible intersection of finance and technology. All of my money and my company's money has gone into cryptocurrency and or cryptocurrency-based companies. And I've just never done anything else since. I have a tendency to be obsessive, and that obsession roared when it came to cryptocurrency. And if you started to invest into cryptocurrency at the beginning of 2017, you looked pretty smart by the end of 2017, because there was obviously the bull run of 2017 where Bitcoin appreciated from about $1,000 to over 20,000, almost $20,000 US. And we were buying quite a bit of Ethereum, Neo, a basket of cryptocurrencies, which were really in their inception stage at the time. And so we did very well. Just by luck, I had transitioned the company's assets into cryptocurrency, not by some incredible stroke of investment genius. And that turned out to be incredibly lucrative. Now, what was even more lucrative is how 2017 ended off. And this is what gave birth to Invest. I was itching to stop just passively investing into cryptocurrencies and to start a firm, to start a business within the cryptocurrency space. And at the time, I was doing a lot of traveling in Southeast Asia. I was doing a lot of speaking on the subject, on blockchain and cryptocurrencies. And I had run into my partner, Mr. Warren Carson, who's now my co-founder. And we had this ridiculous idea, which I remember the day that I had confirmed, this is what we're doing. We're gonna take all the money that we have in a market that was just booming. It was every intention of mine to just keep all my money in it, but to take it all out and put it in Invest. And we said we wanted to build a cryptocurrency wallet software that would have physical locations. And we just couldn't get around this idea that there was no one that did this yet. We thought it was such a stupid, simple idea that someone would have done it, and no one had done it. And so we said we got to be the first to this market. So in the December of 2017, we liquidate all of our assets and we start Invest Canada at the time, with the ambition that we are going to credentialize cryptocurrency by putting a set of physical institutions, a set of physical branches, stores, whatever you want to call them, in place. And we were so remedial. The idea was so not well thought out. It was fun. It was hilarious. Me and Warren, and just the desire to be first in that move. And so we did it. We raised our first round of financing at the beginning, and we closed our round of financing at the beginning of 2018, mostly from us. And we launched Invest Canada. We acquired a software development company in the United Kingdom called Gravity Chain to build out our software. I'm not a big fan of outsourcing things, so usually I either acquire the people or I acquire the company. So that's what we did. Instead of giving the money to a software dev firm to build it, we just went and acquired what was a failing software development firm, and we turned it into a blockchain specialized firm. We set up our offices in Birmingham, UK, hired some incredible devs, some of which I work with to this day. And we built out Invest Canada, which at that point had changed the name to Invest Bank's online banking software. At the same time, we had secured our first brick and mortar branch in Toronto, Ontario, and Warren head up the retail transformation of that branch, while I lived in the UK and head up the software development of the banking software. And simultaneously, we brought this to the market at the end of Q3 of 2018, because throughout 2018 we had done that, but we had also diversified into other businesses in the crypto space, which I'm going to explain. And that was the launch of what was then called Invest Canada, which is today called Invest Bank. And we have the world's first brick and mortar branch for cryptocurrency. Used to be a TD Canada Trust. We're sitting across from TD's headquarters somewhere. So that was a surreal experience doing that. And then in the middle of 2018, I came to another ridiculous idea, which stated, you know what? Seems like everyone's selling everything. Everyone in the crypto market was just selling. They were selling cryptos. The market was just abysmal. The bloodbath was bloody. And not only were they selling cryptocurrencies, and I was spending a lot of time in Europe at the time, and we had exposure in North America and Europe. And so not only were they selling the actual asset, but they were selling technologies. They were selling intellectual property. They were getting rid of companies that they started, that they raised money for in 2017 in a bull market. They burned out of all the cash that they had. And I said, this is one of the greatest buying opportunities we're ever going to see in our life. People are giving shit away, excuse my language. And so what we did was we formed a holdings company called the Invest Group that would own distressed assets in the cryptocurrency space, mostly from distressed people that needed to do something with the asset that they have. And we launched what was an incubation platform. We took the same engineering team that we put together for Invest bank, and we said anyone can leverage this. We will use the same engineering team for any crypto project if we can have a stake in it. And we took that same copy-paste strategy and we acquired or started company after company in the crypto space. And now we have about 21 different 21 different companies, projects in the cryptocurrency space in our portfolio, ranging from banking technology to exchange technology to software development to media in the crypto space to data management platforms. And a lot of them are still in R&D. Some of them have made their way to market. A lot of the services business, like the consulting businesses, are in market and profitable. Obviously, Invest Bank and Global Exchange have just risen to the top of this portfolio. And it's just been super fun to do that. And the most incredible part about this was what we did to incubate the companies. We built out an R&D campus. So we said, what we're gonna do is go to countries that had very difficult regulatory regimes around cryptocurrency, because what those countries would do is they would by nature force out all the cryptocurrency startups, thus leaving a basket of engineers and a basket of talent without any place to go. And these guys are passionate about blockchain. So we went to India as our first place. The Reserve Bank of India had just virtually banned cryptocurrencies, and we said this would be a great place to launch our research and development campus. And it was technically very smart because we are only building technologies there and incubating companies there that don't serve domestic clients. They serve international clients. They're international companies. And so we weren't, doing anything outside of the realm of regulation, but we had access to this incredible talent pool, labor arbitrage, and we built the world's first Invest campus in Bangalore, which today it houses 130 engineers, is about 4,000 square feet. We're the largest blockchain investor in Southern India, and it's just such a vibrant place for crypto companies, and it gave us the competitive advantage to scale any startup we wanted in the crypto space, and that was really our secret weapon. We have a smaller one in the UK, and now I want to build one here in Toronto. So campuses, research and development campuses, which foster the competitive advantage. No longer are things cheap because the market is now starting to boom again. So we had it as a timeline where we had resources and market had distressed assets, and then we had the credibility from what we did at Invest Bank. So that is how we built the Invest Group. And what's coming down the pipeline for the Invest Group is absolutely mesmerizing. We're just expanding at such a hyper rate. And I would say the golden child, the poster boy of our portfolio, is a company called Global Exchange, which is probably the reason you're watching this video, is because of Global Exchange. You've heard about us through our Global Exchange project. And that is a company that most people don't know. That's a company we started about 16 months ago just for the process of processing exchanges for Invest Bank, because we couldn't take any dollars for Invest Canada. And so we launched it and no one knew about it because we never did anything with it. But then we have been developing this non-custodial exchange operating system, which is the core product line behind Invest Bank. And that became a product we knew could revolutionize or evolutionize the cryptocurrency space. And that is what we rolled out at the beginning of this year for beta testing. We tagged it with GX Broker. I'm not going to go too deep into the product of Global Exchange, but we tagged that with GX Broker, which is an incredibly innovative distribution strategy. And today we have the monster that is Global Exchange. And so that is how I ended up here, in a very transparent and candid fashion that I don't think I've ever revealed before. And that is my story. Maybe one day I'll release a video talking about my childhood and some of the psychological implications that have wired me to do what I just said I did. Thank you.
I don't know why they've been lying, but your shit is not that inspiring. Bank account statement just look like I'm ready for early retirement.